What's the best kind of razor to use when you're cleaning windows? I'm here with Mike at Detroit Sponge in Wixom, Michigan. They ship all over the country. But when you're cleaning windows, there's all these different options for razors. And I want to ask Mike directly, the owner of Detroit Sponge, what are all these different razors for? What kind should you use in different applications? And I also want him to talk about the liability of scratching glass probably. What is the proper way to use a razor? So give us a quick demonstration, Mike.
Sure, absolutely. How you doing today? The scrapers are designed for removing their paint, overspray, tape, whatever, stickers from the glass. This is a traditional smaller 1.5 inch razor. Overall, this is probably the safest way to scrape glass. It allows you to be more in control of the debris that you're removing. You know, a couple of quick tips on scraper technique, regardless of the size. We can get into talking about the size and the composition of scrapers in a minute. But the quick tip is you always scrape, lift, scrape, lift. Don't scrape back and forth. So when you're going on the surface, none of this, because when you do, this tuck towel is a good example. You grab the material and you end up sticking it back under the blade. So let's say you take a chunk of sand or something off the glass, you're going to end up trapping it under the blade.
Turn off this light. The thing is kind of...
There you go. Yeah, you're going to trap it under the blade and you could end up causing yourself a hazard on the job. And there are different types of glass surfaces for you to be aware of out there. The overall consensus is tempered glass is one of the things that you really want to be careful with scraping. A lot of people are using steel wool now as their go-to for glass, for removing debris. But if you end up deciding that scrapers are the right choice for the job, which is part of your decision as a contractor, you got to make sure you're choosing the right job for the situation. There are a lot of different scrapers to choose from. You have everything from that 1.5 inch scraper to one of our best sellers over time is this one from Ederay, where it's 3 3/4 inches wide. It's a nice scraper, and you can see how here, if you look at it down the shaft of it, it kind of tips the angle back up away from the glass, so it gives you a little bit of lift to make sure that that scraper is in the correct angle when you go to use it. It's also got an angled handle, so it makes it very convenient if you ever want to put it onto a pole. All of these scrapers can be used on a stick, but this one here is a little bit of a natural angle, almost like a squeegee handle. That's a 3 3/4 inch, then you kind of go up to a 4 inch. This is a nice one from Unger. Nice cap. See the blade edge sticks up there. Easy blades to change. This one has the little nub that sticks out. You push it in, pull it out the other side.
Ooh, very sharp.
They are double-edged blades too, to where this edge is sharp as well as that. So you could technically flip the blade over and get twice the life out of it.
Yeah, right there. See that? Well, 2012, I had one of those irresponsibly under the seat of my truck, and I reached under a trip to the hospital. Stitches, man.
Yeah, they don't stop. These blades are sharpened with a real precision. The biggest thing that we see that stops the scraper blade is bone. So you really don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to have that. We've seen a lot of bad outcomes of guys versus scrapers. Even dramatic things. You don't want to finish off the story, but when you drop a scraper and you're on a ladder, it's always going to fall heavy end down, which is where the blade is. So this falling through the air doesn't usually end well. So this is a 5 inch scraper from Atori. Every one of these is different sizes. This is 5 inches stainless steel blade, whereas the first two that we looked at had a carbon steel. Stainless steel is going to be more resistant to rust. It is a thinner blade than the carbon, but for your ordinary type of scraping, paint, flex, tape, the stainless steel blades do a great job, and they do allow you to keep that blade life longer. Can I put the links to
some of these below if they want to check them out?
Absolutely, yeah, they're all available.
On your website, right?
Yep, and so many of our tools, like everything else, we offer a lot of choices, and the key is for you to figure out what works best for your belt and for your efficiency on the job, and then ultimately for that customer of yours to keep them happy. This is one from Triumph. Triumph is one of the go-to brands for the professional window cleaning contractor. This one has a retractable blade guard, so you push this in and that leaves the blade exposed. So if you don't like that motion of taking the cap off of a scraper, this allows you to be able to simply slide this up with one hand.
Yeah, that's cool.
You just have to make sure that you secure it back in place, because if this thing is sticking up, like you mentioned, Keith, it can really end poorly. It can end your day and it can really mess you up. The other scrapers would be, this is another one from Triumph. That's a 6-inch, same thing, except this one has the cap to it. This one has a rubberized grip to it.
Why a bigger razor versus a smaller one, the wider?
Well, obviously it's going to be time. Yep, it's going to be efficiency on the job. So it depends on the type of surface you're trying to remove.
And real quick, I got into post-construction cleanup brand new windows. I got out of it immediately. I didn't like it. One is because of the liability, and although we have all of our clients sign waivers for glass scratch no matter what, we discontinue doing any scraping unless the customer explicitly wants it. I go through the whole explanation, do a pre-trip inspection, document any pre-existing scratches on their windows, plus make them sign the release form. But there are guys also, let me know in the comments below, like, that's their bread and butter, is they love doing that type of cleanup, and they make good money because some other window cleaners don't like to do that. So is this where this comes into play, or is this a more just common everyday use? Because I don't use these in my business.
Right. Well, many people have now adapted that practice where their policy is they don't use scrapers. There are always exceptions, but for the most part they just do not use scrapers. We've heard that from big companies, some people that we do business with that have 30, 40 employees, that they simply have pulled all the scrapers from the field as a general tool. There are a lot of conversations going on about glass surfaces and what causes scratches. It's usually the debris that's the source of the issue, from my opinion, for what it's worth. But there are some things that are about glass surfaces now that are different than the way that they were engineered and manufactured years back, and it does make a difference. So many people will say, our slogan around here is the right tool for the right job. So I would say that if it's the appropriate choice, sure, use a scraper, but don't just blindly grab the scraper and try and use it for everything, because you're probably going to have some challenges on certain jobs that you wouldn't have had if you used a different tool.
And then with the tint test.
Yep, tint is always a dangerous thing with the scraper. Tint is just put onto the glass surface, so it's easy then if you're using a razor, you're going to nick that tint, you could mar it. That's usually a no-go.
So what's the proper way to actually use a scraper?
Sure. When it comes to the debris that you're loosening off the glass, that's a lot of the concerns. So when you scrape, you want to scrape, lift, scrape, lift. You do not want to do this.
In any direction?
Well, single direction usually.
And then always make sure the window is wet and soapy.
Correct. Wet, lubricated with that window cleaning soap. Again, scrape, lift, scrape, lift. The whole reason is you do this, and it has that wonderful effect of grabbing the debris and putting it underneath the blade, and then you're scratching the debris back and forth across the glass, which that could very well end poorly. So scrapers are a great professional tool. The 6-inch size, it's amazing how much ground you can cover with that. If you're trying to remove a tint or a film for someone, or you're removing large stickers or holiday spray, when people put up their spray on their stores, it can make you a lot of time. It can be great. Good safe practices. Keep the window wet, keep it lubricated. Straight lift, go back. Holsters are nice because that allows you.
This one's pretty sleek. It fits right on the belt. And then this one.
That's the Unger one that's designed to go with their Unger Ninja scraper. It's also one of those scrapers that can be angled here at the joint. Or if you want to use it on a pole, maybe you need that angle. Or if you want to use it straight, you can do that.
Oh, that's cool.
Always back into the holster.
Name them all off real quick, like the Unger Ninja scraper. What are the names of all of them?
Yep.
So you can identify.
This is the Triumph MK3. It's got the rubberized grip. This is the Unger Ninja scraper. The size is the 6-inch. They also offer a 4. This is the Ettore Champion scraper. It's a 5-inch version. 4-inch Ergotech scraper from Unger. 6-inch Triumph retractable blade cover. 3 3/4-inch Ettore Scrape Master. And then this one is the version we have is from Unger. It's just a little widget, but that's the one that has the 1.5-inch blade.
Cool. You have all these on the website?
We do, and more.
I'll put a link below on the website if you guys want to check these out. And then these are all the scrapers you have in the store? These types?
No, we have more to choose from, different sizes of them all, but it's the same kind of themes. So much of it just depends on what you're looking for on your job and what room you have on your belt.
So what's like the biggest scraper you have in the store?
For glass, the 6-inch is the largest.
Yeah.
That seems to be, once you get past that point, the glass surface isn't perfectly solid or straight, so they seem to find that the 6-inch conforms the best. You get much bigger than that and it doesn't work out so well.
And it's just a real quick on fabrication debris.
Yeah, it's quite a topic that's out there. There's a bunch of different organizations that have done research about the way glass is made now and the way that production is done through factories. You can search out fabricating debris, glass surfaces. I've had a friendship with Gary Maurer for years. He's done a lot of years of research on this, as well as the International Window Cleaning Association has funded some research for this as well. It's a growing concern and a growing topic out there, because obviously the window cleaners, you're the last ones to ever touch the glass, the final person. So they're always going to want to say that the final person that did it is what caused any problem that might exist. But in a construction environment, that can be true, but it can also be not true. So it's a real learning science at the moment with glass and the way glass is manufactured. It's worth becoming educated about. Biggest warning signs we would communicate would be tempered glass is something you want to proceed with caution on. Maybe not even use a scraper.
Yeah, the way I learned, well, almost the hard way, was do a lot of research before you even buy a razor and touch it to the glass, because if there's ever a problem on a property, you better have a really educated answer for your customer really quick, because then you might actually take responsibility for something you didn't even do. Does that make sense? So, cool. Thanks, Mike.
Right. Thank you very much.